A mother invited some people to dinner. At the table, she turned to her 6-year-old daughter and said, "Would you like to say the blessing?" "I wouldn't know what to say," the girl replied. "Just say what you hear Mommy say," the woman answered. The daughter bowed her head and said, "Lord, why on earth did I invite all these people to dinner?" Kids always tell the truth, even when you wish they wouldn't. A minister was invited to give a talk at the local Lions Club, and the topic happened to be on love. When he got home that evening, feeling a little awkward about telling his wife the real subject, he simply said, "Oh, I gave a talk on horseback riding." A few days later, his wife bumped into a few of the Lions Club members while out shopping. They cheerfully told her how much they enjoyed her husband's speech. With a polite smile, she replied, "Yes, I heard about it. I was a bit surprised, though. I mean, he's only tried it twice." She added with a chuckle, "The first time he got so sore he could barely walk, and the second time he fell off." At a seminar for elderly women on how to maintain a loving relationship with your husband, the speaker asked, "How many of you love your husbands?" All the women raised their hands. Then she asked, "When was the last time you told your husband you loved him?" Some said, "Today," others said, "Yesterday," and a few couldn't even remember. The women were then instructed to send their husbands a simple text, "I love you, sweetheart." After sending the message, they were asked to swap phones and read the incoming replies aloud. Here are some of the hilarious responses. Mother of my children, are you sick? What now? Did you crash the car again? I don't understand what you mean. What did you do now? I'm not forgiving you this time. Don't beat around the bush. How much do you need? Am I dreaming? If you don't tell me who this message is really for, you're dead. I told you to stop drinking. And the best one of all, 10. Who is this? A customer at Green's Gourmet Grocery marveled at the proprietor's quick wit and intelligence. "Tell me, Mr. Green, what makes you so smart?" "I wouldn't share my secret with just anyone," Mr. Green replies, lowering his voice so the other shoppers won't hear. "But since you're a good and faithful customer, I'll let you in on it. Fish heads. You eat enough of them, you'll be positively brilliant." "Do you sell them here?" asks the customer. "Sure do. Only $4 a piece," replies Mr. Green. The customer buys 3 and takes them home. A week later, the customer is back in the store complaining that the fish heads were disgusting, and he isn't any smarter. "You didn't eat enough," says Mr. Green. The customer ends up buying 20 more fish heads. 2 weeks later, the customer is back, and this time he's really angry. "Hey, Mr. Green," he says, "you're selling me fish heads for 4 apiece when I can buy the whole fish for $2. You're ripping me off." "You see," says Mr. Green, "you're getting smarter already." A middle-aged couple were strolling through the local agricultural show when they wandered into the livestock exhibits. They stopped at this cattle section, where each pen had a sign boasting about the bull's, well, performance. The wife spotted the first sign. "This bull 12 times in the last year." She nudged her husband and smirked. "Once a month. Maybe you could aspire to that." The husband just grunted and kept walking. A few steps later, they came across another pen. The sign read, "This bull made 52 times in the last 12 months." Her elbow found his ribs again. "Wow, once a week. Why can't you manage that?" Her husband sighed but said nothing. Finally, they reached the last pen, showcasing a massive, muscular bull. This bull mated 3 odd times in the last year. The wife gasped and practically poked a hole through his side. "Every single day. Why can't you be like that?" The husband paused, looked at the bull, then back at his wife, and with a sly grin replied, "Well, maybe he didn't have to do it with the same old cow." A man walks into a chemist's shop with his 12-year-old son. As they wander through the aisles, they pass a display of. The boy stops, points, and asks, "What are these, Dad?" The father, staying matter-of-fact, replies, "Those are son. Men use them to practice safe." The boy nods. "Oh, I see. We talked about them in health class." He glances back at the display, picks up a small pack, and asks, "Why do they come in packs of 3?" The father chuckles. "Those are for sixth form students. One for Friday night, one for Saturday night, and one for Sunday night." "Cool," the boy responds, eyeing a larger pack. "What about this one? There are 6 in here." The father smirks. "Those are for university students. 2 for Friday night, 2 for Saturday night, and 2 for Sunday night." The boy's eyes widen in amazement. He reaches for the biggest box on the shelf, a 12-pack. "Wow! And who buys these?" With a long, wistful sigh, the father pats him on the shoulder and says, "Those, my boy, are for married men. One for January, one for February, one for March." An elderly woman goes to her doctor for a checkup. After running some tests, the doctor recommends more cardiovascular exercise. "Oh, I'm an old woman," she protests. "I haven't been able to get that much exercise for years." The doctor says, "It's not as difficult as you might think. For instance, if you and your husband had love 3 times a week, you'd be amazed how much that could help." The woman blushed. "Oh, I can't tell him something like that. It's embarrassing. Can you talk to him?" "Sure thing." The doctor goes out into the waiting room and finds the woman's husband. "Sir, I've been talking with your wife about getting more cardiovascular exercise, and I'm recommending that she have activity 3 days a week." "Which day?" asked the husband. "Well," the doctor says, "I'd suppose Monday, Wednesday, and Friday would be ideal." To which the husband says, "I can bring her on Monday, but Wednesdays and Fridays I golf, so she's going to have to take the bus." A Kentucky teacher was quizzing her students. "Johnny, who signed the Declaration of Independence?" He said, "I know." She was a little put out by his swearing, so she told him to go home and to bring his father with him when he came back. Next day, the father came with his son, sat in the back of the room to observe. She started back in on her quiz and finally got back to the boy. "Now, Johnny, I'll ask you again. Who signed the Declaration of Independence?" "Well, hell, teacher," Johnny said. "I told you I didn't know." The father jumped up in the back, pointed a stern finger at his son, and said, "Johnny, if you signed that thing, hell, you will better admit it." My wife and I went into town to do a little shopping. When we came back out, we saw a police officer writing a parking ticket on a car near the store. I walked up and said, "Come on, officer. How about giving a couple of senior citizens a break?" He completely ignored me and kept writing. So I said, "You butthead." That got his attention. He looked up, glared at me, and started writing another ticket. For worn-out tires. My wife joined in, calling him a jerk. He added another ticket. This little dance went on for 20 minutes. The more we insulted him, the more tickets he wrote. By the end, he looked like he was trying to break some kind of record. He finally slapped a whole stack of tickets on the windshield, gave us one last dirty look, and stormed off. Just then, our bus pulled up. Yep, not our car, not our problem. We got on the bus and went home laughing. Now that we're retired, we try to have a little fun every day. Life's short. Might as well enjoy it while we still have the energy and free bus passes. On their honeymoon, the new husband told his bride, "I have a confession to make that I should have made before, but I was concerned that it might affect our relationship." "What is it?" his new bride asked lovingly. "I'm a golf fanatic," he said. "I think about golf constantly. I'll be out on the golf course every weekend, every holiday, and every chance I get. If it comes to a choice between your wishes and golf, golf will always win." His new bride pondered this for a moment and said, I thank you for your honesty. Now, in the same spirit of honesty, I should tell you that I've concealed something about my own past that you should know about. The truth is, I'm a hooker. No problem, said her husband. Just widen your stance a little and overlap your grip, and that should clear it right up. Bob and Joe have been playing golf together for 30 years until Bob's eyesight starts to decline. Joe talks Bob into playing their first round of golf in a year when he tells him, "Look, my eyesight's still good. I'll watch your ball for you when you hit it so we can still play." So Bob and Joe get their clubs and take off to the country club. Bob steps up to the first tee and drives it right down the fairway. He turns to Joe and says, "Okay, Joe, did you see it?" "Sure did. That was some drive, Bob." "Well, where did it go?" Bob asks. Joe thinks for a minute and says, "I can't remember." One Sunday morning, Satan appeared before a small-town congregation. Everyone started screaming and running for the front church door, trampling each other in a frantic effort to get away. Soon, everyone was gone, except for an elderly gentleman who sat calmly. Satan walked up to the man and said, "Don't you know who I am?" The man replied, "Yep, sure do." Satan asked, "Aren't you going to run?" "Nope, sure ain't," said the man. Perturbed, Satan asked, "Why aren't you afraid of me?" The man calmly replied, "Been married to your sister for over 48 years. Steve and Anna, a middle-aged couple, were enjoying dinner at a fancy restaurant when out of nowhere, a drop-dead gorgeous young woman walks up to their table, plants a passionate kiss on Steve and says, "See you later, darling." Anna stares daggers at Steve. "Who was that?" Steve shrugs and says, "I'm not gonna lie. She's my mistress." Anna slams her fork down. "That's it! I've had enough. I want a divorce." Steve calmly replies, "I understand, but just remember, no more shopping in Paris, no winters in Barbados, no summers in Tuscany, no Lexus or Infiniti in the driveway, and no yacht club membership. Totally your call, though." Just then, their friend Jim walks in with a bombshell on his arm. Anna leans over and whispers, "Who's that with Jim?" Steve replies, "That's his mistress." Anna sips her wine and smiles. "Ours is prettier." Wife, "Honey, let's play a game." Husband, "Okay, what's the game about?" Wife, "If I name a country, you run to the left side of the room and touch the wall. If I name a bird, you run to the right side and touch that wall. But if you run in the wrong direction, you'll give me your entire salary for this month." Husband, "Okay. But if you mess up during your turn, then I get your salary, right?" Wife smiles, "Yes, darling." Husband, "All right." Stands up, ready to run in either direction. Wife, "Ready?" Husband, "Ready, wife." Turkey. It's been 4 hours now. The husband is still standing in the same spot, trying to figure out if she meant the country or the bird. An aging man lived alone in Ireland. His only son was in Long Kesh prison, and he didn't know anyone who would spade up his potato garden. The old man wrote to his son about it and received this reply, "For heaven's sake, don't dig up that garden. That's where I buried the guns." At 4 a.m. the next morning, a dozen British soldiers showed up and dug up the entire garden, but didn't find any guns. Confused, the man wrote to his son telling him what happened and asking him what to do next. His son's reply was, "Just plant your potatoes." On a narrow mountain road, a man sees a police car driving uphill backwards. "Hi guys, why are you driving backwards?" "Because we are not sure that we will find a place to make a U-turn on the top of the mountain." After 1 hour, the same man sees the same police car driving downhill backwards again. "But guys, why are you driving backwards again?" "We found a place to make a U-turn up there." A group of guys were chatting up a pretty blonde and, just messing around, asked her to climb a pole nearby. Surprisingly, she agreed and did it without hesitation. Later that day, she told her mom what happened. Her mom, horrified, said, "Sweetheart, don't you get it? They just wanted to see your underwear." The blonde felt embarrassed for being so naive, but she wasn't about to let them win. The next day, the same guys asked her again, and when she got home, she was glowing with pride. Her mom asked, "What's got you so happy?" And the blonde replied with a smirk, "I totally got them back. Today, I didn't even wear underwear." Drop A if you weren't ready for that twist. A blind guy's chilling at the bar and says, "Hey bartender, want to hear a blonde joke?" Before he can get another word out, a deep voice next to him says, "Just a warning, pal. The bartender's blonde. The bouncer's blonde. I'm blonde. I'm I'm 6 feet tall, 200 pounds, and I teach karate on weekends. The guy next to me, 6'2", 225, plays rugby like his life depends on it. And the guy on your other side, 6'5", built like a fridge, wrestles bears for fun. We're all blonde. You still want to tell that joke?" The blind guy takes a moment, then says, "Nah, not if I'll have to explain it 5 times." A little boy was wandering around a hotel when he heard some strange noises coming from one of the rooms. Curious, he opened the door and said, "Wow, it's really dark in here." From inside, a man's voice replied, "What do you want, kid? Here's $10. Go get yourself something and don't come back." Well, a little while later, the boy came back, opened the same door, and again said, "Wow, it's still dark in here." Annoyed, the man groaned, "You again? Fine, here's 10 more. Now scram!" The boy walked away with $20 in his pocket and a mischievous grin on his face. The next morning, feeling a little guilty, he confessed to his mom. She frowned and said, "That's not okay. You need to go to church and confess your sins." So off he went. He entered the confession booth and said, "Wow, it's dark in here." And from the other side, he heard a very familiar voice say, "Seriously? Not you again." A man pours himself the bowl of cereal and sits down at the table. His friend Ralph is sitting at the table, already reading the newspaper. George, the man who just sat down, says, "Hey Ralph, there is a message in my alphabets. It says, Ralph says, "George, those are not alphabets, they're Cheerios." Little Johnny's father wakes him up one morning and says, "Johnny, go feed the animals as I am late and must take a shower." Little Johnny, who is now angry, gets out of bed and walks past his mother, who is making breakfast in the kitchen. Johnny gathers the food for the chicken, pig, and cow. First, Johnny kicks the chicken and drops its feed in its feeder. Second, Johnny walks up to the pig, kicks it, and drops its slop in its trough. Third, Johnny walks up, kicks the cow, and gives the cow its food. Meanwhile, his mother can see all of what Johnny is doing from the kitchen. Johnny walks back to the house and enters the kitchen. Johnny's mother says, "Johnny, I saw what you did, and for kicking the chicken, you will have no eggs for breakfast. For kicking the pig, you will have no bacon. For kicking the cow, you will have no milk." Meanwhile, Johnny's father walks down the stairs and trips over the cat and nearly falls. Johnny's father walks up and kicks the cat. Johnny looks at his mother and says, "Should I tell him what he's not going to have, or are you?" A guy walks into a bar, looks around, and notices an older man sitting at a nearby table. He says to the bartender, "A round on me for everyone here, except for that old guy over there." As the drinks are handed out, he looks over at the old man with a smug grin. To his surprise, the old man just nods and smiles warmly back. Confused, the guy orders another round for everyone. Again, except for the old man, and this time, he insists on only the top shelf stuff. Yet again, the old man smiles, even bigger than before. Frustrated, the guy turns to the bartender and asks, "What's with that guy? Is he clueless or what?" The bartender chuckles and replies, "Oh no, sir. That gentleman happens to be my boss and the owner of the bar." A man's been drinking at the bar all day when he suddenly checks the time. 1:30 a.m. Oh no, my wife's gonna kill me. He tries to stand up. Bam! Falls straight to the floor. Okay. I just need to sober up. He orders a coffee, drinks it, waits 30 minutes, then tries again. Thud! Falls even harder. At this point, he knows standing isn't an option, but he's got to get home somehow. So he does the only thing he can. He starts crawling. After 40 minutes of crawling like a lost turtle, he finally makes it home, sneaks into bed next to his, Mags, thankfully sleeping wife, and passes out cold. The next morning, his wife wakes him up with that look. "So, how was last night? Did you have fun drinking all day?" Thinking she has no idea, he plays it cool. "Me? Nah, just a couple of beers with coworkers." She nods. "Oh, okay." Then, as she's walking away, she stops, turns back and smirks. "By the way, the bar owner called. Your wheelchair's still there, genius?" A local business was looking for office help and put up a sign saying, "Help wanted. Must be able to type, must be good with a computer, and must be bilingual. We are an equal opportunity employer." A short time afterwards, a golden retriever dog trotted up to the window, saw the sign, and went inside. He looked at the receptionist and wagged his tail, then walked over to the sign, looked at it, and whined. Getting the idea, the receptionist got the office manager. The office manager looked at the dog and was surprised, to say the least. However, the dog looked determined, so he led him into the office. Inside, the dog jumped up on the chair and stared at the manager. The manager said, "I can't hire you. The sign says you have to be able to type." The dog jumped down, went to the typewriter, and proceeded to type out a perfect letter. He took out the page and trotted over to the manager and gave it to him, then jumped back on the chair. The manager was stunned, but then told the dog, "The sign says you have to be good with a computer." The dog jumped down again and went to the computer. The dog proceeded to demonstrate his expertise with various programs and produced a sample spreadsheet and database and presented them to the manager. By this time, the manager was totally dumbfounded. He looked at the dog and said, "I realize that you are a very intelligent dog and have some interesting abilities. However, I still can't give you the job." The dog jumped down and went to a copy of the sign and put his paw on the part about being an equal opportunity employer. The manager said, "Yes, but the sign also says that you have to be bilingual." The dog looked at him and said, "Wow,